Hey everybody, this is Darren Spader again with the Bay Area News Group, East Bay Times, Mercury News, here with Mike Lefkow. Mike, we've reached the finish line of the regular season in the North Coast section as we sit here in our lovely Walnut Creek executive boardroom. There's a big game Saturday afternoon, a game that will have implications, we think, in the NCS Open Division bracket that will be announced on Sunday. How do you see Pittsburgh coming into this game after the heartbreaking loss last week, in which it had 5 turnovers and lost by 3 to Liberty? Now they got to go on the road to play their arch rival Antioch, needing a win to get into the Open Division, but that win could end up sending them into a number 4 seed against De La Salle. Although, in my conversation with Vic Galley today, he obviously thinks because of obviously his team's strength of schedule, the fact that it didn't get to scrimmage before the Clayton Valley game, and how tight it played Liberty, that it's deserving of a 3 seed. How do you see this all shaking out?
Well, I don't know how Pittsburgh is going to come into the game. I mean, the history of the Big Little game is that both teams should come in very fired up.
Right.
And they both had better come in very fired up, because if one of them's not, the end result is probably not going to be a good one. I think this could be a very close game. You look at the personnel, you look at kind of how the seasons have gone, you might say, well, Pittsburgh is going to win this game and maybe win it handily. I would not, if I were a betting man, I don't know how much I would put on that. I think Antioch can keep this game close. And last year, they only lost by 2 points in a game played at Pittsburgh. This game is in Antioch. Right. And I think the Panthers will come in real fired up, because I think Antioch has a little bit to prove right now. They're at home, and if they finish 8-2, I think they're in the Open, because it would be hard to deny them when their only losses were to Liberty, which was a bad one, to Freedom, and then they did beat Clayton Valley.
I think the biggest Pittsburgh fan this week, or fans, would be the Ugly Eagles, Clayton Valley Charter. Because if Antioch wins, and we discussed this in our Saturday recap last week, if Antioch wins and has the win on the black turf at Clayton Valley Charter, and would have an 8-2 record with wins over Clayton Valley and Pitt, I know they lost to Liberty 52-0, but if you're on the committee, do you put Antioch in the 3 seed because of the head-to-head against Clayton Valley? Kind of like similar to what, the head-to-head that Clayton Valley is going to point to with the Pittsburgh result.
Well, I'm not on the committee.
You're not?
And
no.
I'm also not married to the committee bylaws.
Right.
I know the committee does not consider scores, but I saw the Clayton Valley Antioch game, and I also saw the Antioch Liberty game. And I would make if Antioch beats Pittsburgh, I think Clayton Valley should go in as the number 3 seed, simply because bylaws notwithstanding, I do not want to see a rematch right now between Antioch and Liberty. The game was 52-0. And I think at some point you've got to, all right, yes.
But do you want to see a rematch? Let's flip it and say Pittsburgh wins. Do you want to see a rematch between Pitt and Liberty? That's one thing that Victor Galley was saying today, that, there was such a great game on Friday night that who wouldn't want to see that game again?
No, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite on this one.
Throwing you under the bus here a little bit.
I think that Clayton Valley should be the number 3 seed. I know that
regardless of what happens in that game.
Well, unless Antioch or Pittsburgh just goes off and wins 52-0, then maybe you got to think about it. Oh, wait a minute, score differentials don't count. But
do they really not count?
But not in my mind. In my mind, they do count.
But do you really think in the committee's mind that they completely ignore the scores?
Well,
I think blinders on.
I think they try, because you don't want teams to run up scores.
Right.
I mean, we're not looking for.
Speaking of running up scores, which I guess wasn't running up a score, we just wrote about the 94-0 McClymonds win over Skyline.
Yeah, and
they said it wasn't running. Skyline said it was not a running up the scores.
Well, whether it's 94-0 or 67-0, you hate to see teams run up scores. I mean, at least even in the NFL, the Rams showed a little class last Sunday, and tried to hold the score down in their easy victory over the 49ers. And I mean, so you don't like to see games scores like that. But at the same time, Clayton Valley, I think, should be the number 3 seed unless the Antioch-Pittsburgh game turns into a blowout. Either way. And even then, you'd have to think long and hard about who you're going to make the number 3 seed. I don't think Clayton Valley should be scheduling Stellar Prep and
Concord.
Well, Concord is a different story because, again, that's a city rivalry. But I think Clayton Valley needs to step up their non-league schedule a little bit. But at the same time, they've only lost one game, and they did beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. They lost by 1 point to Antioch, played poorly in that game, and give Antioch all the credit in the world. But I just think that Clayton this year should go in as the number 3 seed.
All right, we'll see what happens. I'll be out there on Saturday afternoon out at Antioch for that game. But on Friday night, you're going to be at Monte Vista in Danville to see Monte Vista try to wrap up an 8-2 season as they go up against their arch rival, the Wolves of San Ramon Valley, right?
Right, and that's also another heated rivalry. So you can't say, well, this is what's going to happen. I mean, if it does go to form, Monte Vista's the number 11 team. They've only lost 2 games. One of those was by 1 point to Bishop O'Dowd. So they are a good football team, Monte Vista. And if you take away the De La Salle game, they've only given up 69 points in the other 8 games. So that's, 9 points a game,
right.
A little over 8 points a game. They are a good football team. And if Monte Vista were to beat San Ramon, it would probably come down to them and the loser of the Antioch-Pitt game for the top seed in Division One.
And I got to think Monte Vista is going to be the top seed.
I would have to think so.
At 8-2 with losses only to De La Salle and the close one to Bishop O'Dowd.
Yeah, and they've earned it. I mean, they're a good football team.
Our colleague Curtis Pachelka is scheduled to be, where's that game?
That's at Miramani.
Miramani, playing host to arch rival Campolindo, which Campolindo needs to keep winning to get a high seed in Division 2 of the NCS playoffs.
Yeah, Division 2 this year is a lot tougher than it's been in the past. It's not just
Granada, right? Granada's back in there.
Granada's back in there, and Granada's a very good football
Catate,
team. Yes.
You got Marin Catholic. You got Bishop O'Dowd.
Yeah, that's going to be a very competitive division. And, again, Campo will go in as the favorite, but Campo Miramani game is another heated rivalry. Again, you throw out all the past history, you never know what's going to happen in this game.
Can you throw out all the records of the game that I'll be at?
Antioch-Pitt?
No.
Oh.
It's Friday night. Cal De La Salle at Cal.
Yeah, I mean, Cal play them tough. De La Salle is just in a different level of football.
And De La Salle's got to be this is their final tune-up before the playoffs start. They're going to start their by game portion of their schedule. So I got to think the Spartans are going to be looking to have a really good performance going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they would like it. They want to finish 10-0. They want to. Yeah, you're right. I mean, De La Salle should win that game convincingly.
Right. In the South Bay, it's not in the South Bay, one of our colleagues, Vitas Masica, I think he's going to be close to home in Palo Alto as the Vikings take on Los Gatos. Neither team is going to win the De Anza division this year, but Palo Alto could finish in second place by itself with a win on Friday night and obviously go into the playoffs probably at 9-1 if they were to win this game. They have one more, I believe, after this. But
yeah, no, I like Palo Alto to win this game. I mean, Los Gatos is a team that could make things interesting, but I think the game being at Palo Alto, I think they've got a good team, and I see a fairly convincing win there.
And our other colleague, Phil Jensen, he's going to be, I believe that game is down in the South Bay, down in San Jose. Well, they're both in San Jose, but South San Jose, where he's going to be at Oak Grove High for Lincoln San Jose, which is undefeated and going for its first Blossom Valley Athletic League Mount Hamilton Division Championship. They're going to be playing the perennial league power down there, Oak Grove. It's kind of an interesting development here because Lincoln has already qualified for the playoffs, but they don't go to the playoffs. they play the Thanksgiving Day game against their arch rival San Jose. They're the two oldest public schools in San Jose, and they go at it every Thanksgiving, even though the game is, from most of the last 2 decades have been kind of an epic mismatch, but they still play it. They still make money off that game because the alums come back. But Lincoln could go 9-1 this year, win the top division in the BVAL, the San Jose version of the BVAL, and not go to the playoffs. What do you think of that?
Let me ask a question.
All right.
Couldn't Lincoln make more money by, dropping this tradition and playing 2 or 3 playoff games as opposed to a Thanksgiving Day game against San Jose?
Well, that's a good question, but you know what? I got a sinking suspicion that money that's made in the playoffs does not go to Lincoln, does not go to their opponent. I think it goes to the section.
Oh, that's true.
So, I think they're in the money-making business, and they want a big crowd to support other activities.
Do they really get a big crowd for that?
They used to get a huge crowd for this game, but the crowd has kind of died down a little bit because not a little bit, quite a bit on the San Jose side, because San Jose hasn't really been competitive. They should have won the game 3 years ago. Lincoln's Kevin Collins pulled a rabbit out of his hat. Is that how it's rabbit out of your hat?
I guess, yeah.
And won the game. San Jose could have taken a knee and won the game, but Lincoln let them score a touchdown. Made it an 8-point game, and then Lincoln went down and scored in the last minute, and went for 2, forced overtime, and won in overtime.
Wow.
So if the poor San Jose kid had just fallen down and then they took 2 knees, they would have won the game and ended this long losing streak against Lincoln. But wasn't to be.
With all due respect to tradition and all, I mean, if I'm a player on the Lincoln team, I think I would rather be in the playoffs and win a championship. And I don't know any
especially
of the
because
Lincoln players.
it's such a mismatch now that you know who's going to win before they even go and kick it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a tradition that I think it's time for that tradition to change. I mean, Lincoln belongs in the playoffs, and I mean, really, the Central Coast section is missing a good team in the
Kevin
playoffs.
Collins is a great coach. He's one of the best coaches in the CCS, been doing it for 20, 25 years, and is one of the reasons why it's such a one-sided affair. I mean, if Lincoln is such a different level than San Jose.
Well, tradition is wonderful, but at some point, traditions have to change a little bit. And I mean, I'll be honest. I think if I'm a player on the Lincoln team, like I said, I'd much rather be going to the playoffs than playing San Jose on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that weekend is going to be section championship weekend, and that will be the weekend that Lincoln will be playing San Jose on that Thursday.
Yeah, and if you're a Lincoln player, you feel like you belong playing on Friday or Saturday.
All right.
Eating turkey on Thursday.
Yeah. Well, they're still going to eat turkey.
Well, they'll still eat turkey.
Just
But
after the game.
I think that's, in all seriousness, it's time to let that tradition go and have Lincoln in the playoffs where they belong.
All right. Anything else to add? Are we Liberty's going to play Heritage, and was it the Brentwood Bowl? Liberty is overwhelming favorite. They'll win that game and finish 10-0 for the first time in school history was what I'm hearing.
I think it might be the first time.
Right, and clinch the outright league championship, which they hadn't won a league title in 33 years. So, hats off to Liberty. Bishop O'Dowd is rolling right along. Have they clinched that league already?
I didn't look at the standings, but if they win, they're undefeated in the league. So yeah, they
right. Be sure again to sign up for the newsletter. We had a big bump in subscriptions the last couple of days. Do it now, and you'll get the Thursday newsletter, which will preview the football weekend. We'll include even a little cute story that I did this week on Amanda White, the kicker at Lynbrook High. Lynbrook hasn't won a football game this year, but Amanda is one of the kickers on the team. She made an extra point in the first half on Friday night, and then hustled over to the track and was part of the homecoming court. So she traded in her football helmet for a sparkling crown, put the crown on, and was paraded around the track in her football uniform.
Wow.
So cool little
She
story.
was busy, wasn't she?
Cool little story, and like we noted earlier, we talked to the Skyline coach on Monday night about that 94-0 loss to McClymonds. Said no hard feelings, that he has the utmost respect for McClymonds coach Michael Peters, considers him a mentor, and said that it was just one of those days where they had, you know, something like 10 turnovers, and 5 or 6 of them were returned for touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate when a team wins 94-0, but I mean, if you have 5 or 6 turnovers, you can't tell the McClymonds kids not to take them back to the house if they can.
Right. Check out our covers, mercurynews.com, eastbaytimes.com. We'll be back here Saturday and probably a special video on Sunday, right?
I would think so
Sunday,
after the
as we get the
NCS
NCSC
seating.
meetings. Yes, it's that time of year again.
Yeah, it is.
All right. That's a wrap here from Walnut Creek in the lovely boardroom at the East Bay Times offices.